Imagine a book written in an unknown language, illustrated with bizarre plants and cosmic diagrams. A puzzle that has defeated the world's best cryptographers, linguists, and historians for over a century. What if this isn't just a coded message, but a deliberate fabrication? A hoax designed to mock the very act of knowing. This is the story of the Voynich Manuscript, the most mysterious book in the world, and the haunting possibility that it was never meant to be read. Section 1. The Arrival, a book out of time, and the burden of the unreadable. This is not a story about a solution. This is a story about the relentless pursuit of one, and the chilling realization that some mysteries might be designed to endure. In 1912, an American book dealer named Wilfred Voynich acquired an unremarkable-looking volume from a library near Rome. It was small, bound in cheap leather, and filled with about 240 pages of vellum. But when he opened it, he didn't discover history. He discovered a cosmic riddle. The pages were covered, from start to finish, with curling script in an alphabet no one had ever seen. The script flowed naturally, almost musical in its rhythm, yet completely impenetrable. Imagine holding this book. It looks medieval, perhaps 15th century, but it reads like something from another planet. And here is where the story begins to grip. It is not just the writing that defies logic. The text is liberally decorated with illustrations of things that simply should not exist. Plants that bear no resemblance to any known species. Baffling astronomical charts and diagrams featuring tiny, naked nymphs bathing in complex plumbing systems. It's a work of beautiful, frustrating, and seemingly deliberate nonsense. Voynich immediately understood the potential gravity of his discovery. This was not a forgotten dialect or a standard code. It was a phenomenon. For centuries, the world had been trying to read ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs or crack military ciphers. But this was a book that behaved like a living language, yet yielded nothing to the most brilliant minds. The moment this manuscript arrived in the 20th century, it placed an extraordinary burden upon anyone who held it. The burden of the unreadable. What is the deepest human impulse? Isn't it the desire to know, to understand the secrets that lie behind the curtain? The Voynich Manuscript challenged that impulse head-on, daring scholars to look at its flowing script and admit defeat. The question quickly became, if the greatest linguistic minds couldn't read it, was it because they weren't smart enough, or because the book was fundamentally something else entirely? We'll begin to look for the answers by dissecting the unearthly language itself. Section 2. Decoding the alien, structure, statistics, and the cryptographer's nightmare. If the Voynich Manuscript is a language, it is the most well-behaved, yet stubbornly silent, language in history. When professional codebreakers first examined the manuscript, they didn't rely on intuition, they relied on mathematics. Any meaningful written language, from English to Chinese, follows predictable statistical laws. For instance, in any language, certain letters or groups of letters appear more frequently than others. This is the bedrock of cryptanalysis, a technique called frequency analysis. If the Voynich was a simple cipher, like a letter-for-letter substitution where A becomes F, this technique would have broken it within hours. But the Voynich text refused to cooperate. When cryptographers applied standard statistical tests, they hit a strange wall. On one hand, the text looks highly structured. There are clear word boundaries, suggesting a consistent, intelligent system. The words, however, are exceptionally short. They rarely contain more than 10 letters, and some characters repeat with astonishing, almost obsessive, frequency within those words. Here's the nightmare for the cryptographer. The statistical patterns are too regular. It is highly resistant to standard ciphers, and yet, it does not exhibit the characteristics of a natural language. For example, there is almost zero repetition of words across the entire manuscript, but an excessive repetition of certain letter sequences within the words. This suggests a peculiar structure, perhaps even a system designed to maximize variation while using only a few basic components. If this is a code, why is it so exquisitely complicated? And if it's a language, why does it violate every known linguistic norm? The most famous attempt came from the US cryptologists who cracked the Japanese Purple Code during World War II. They applied their immense computational power and failed. They determined that the writing system had an internal consistency that defied random generation, but the statistical distribution of the characters strongly suggested a system where characters are grouped into certain clusters, almost like prefixes and suffixes, rather than simple individual letters. This strange mixture of order and defiance led to a radical idea. Maybe the writing was onto standard code, but something far more complex. like a polyalphabetic cipher where a single letter can represent many different plaintext letters, or even a forgotten steganography technique, hiding a secret message within a meaningless shell. The language was intelligent, complex, but utterly mute, leading us to look beyond the text and into the bizarre images that accompany it, which might be the only true key. Section 3. Whispers of Alchemy. The bizarre botany and astronomical puzzles of the illustrations. If the text is the silent voice of the manuscript, the illustrations are its loud, screaming hallucinations. The Voynich Manuscript is visually divided into several distinct sections, but none is more perplexing than the herbal section. It spans dozens of pages and depicts elaborate drawings of plants, complete with detailed roots, stems, and flowers. Yet, if you took these drawings to the world's leading botanist, they would tell you one thing: these plants do not exist. They are chimeric, fantastical hybrids, a daisy with the root system of a swamp reed, or a poppy with the leaves of a fern. This section forces us to confront a fundamental question. Are these drawings meant to represent real plants, perhaps medicinal herbs from a lost corner of the world? Or are they symbolic keys to the unreadable text? The bizarre nature of the flora strongly hints at alchemy, the ancient quest to transmute base metals and find the elixir of life. Alchemical texts often use coded symbols and veiled language to describe ingredients and processes, hiding secrets from the uninitiated. Could the manuscript be a vast, coded alchemical formulary, with the impossible plants serving as mnemonic devices or symbolic placeholders for genuine substances? The mystery deepens when we turn to the astronomical and biological sections. We see elaborate circular diagrams that depict the sun, moon, and stars, often surrounded by the cryptic script. Some charts seem to track the constellations and the signs of the zodiac with a level of accuracy that suggests advanced knowledge for the 15th century. But then, the manuscript shifts gears dramatically to the biological pages, which are perhaps the most famous and baffling. These pages feature tiny, naked female figures, the aforementioned nymphs, bathing in bizarre tubs, surrounded by intricate piping and interconnected channels. Some theories suggest these diagrams relate to gynecology or the processes of birth and reproduction, but the visual language is utterly unique, blending human anatomy with complex, almost industrial-looking machinery. The illustrations are too consistent to be random, too detailed to be simple decoration. They seem to belong to a unified system of knowledge, be it botany, astronomy, or an unknown form of medical practice. They provide context, but frustratingly, they do not provide a key. They only deepen the puzzle, suggesting that the author was not just trying to encode a language, but an entire, self-contained, and utterly unique worldview. This inherent strangeness leads us inevitably to ask, who would invest such enormous effort into creating a book that could not be understood? We must now follow the paper trail to find the author. Section 4. The Paper Trail. Tracing the manuscript's owners from emperors to eccentrics. The history of the Voynich Manuscript is almost as strange and discontinuous as its content, offering tantalizing clues that often lead to dead ends. To understand the book, we must understand who held it. Wilfrid Voynich, the man who brought the book to the public eye, discovered a letter tucked inside the binding. This letter, dated 1666, was written by a Prague physician named Johannes Marcus Marci and addressed to the famous Jesuit scholar Athanasius. Marci claimed the book had originally been purchased by the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II, an eccentric patron of the arts, sciences, and occultism, who reigned in the late 16th century. Rudolf II allegedly paid 600 gold ducats for the volume, believing it to be the work of the English polymath and mystic, Roger Bacon. The attribution to Bacon, though widely discredited today, is hugely important because it anchors the manuscript in a tradition of esoteric knowledge and scholarly pursuit of the hidden. Rudolf II's court in Prague was a magnet for alchemists, astronomers, and charlatans, precisely the kind of environment where a book of profound secrets or a brilliant deception would thrive. After Rudolf's death, the manuscript passed through various hands associated with Prague's intellectual elite, including the alchemist George Barish, who spent years unsuccessfully attempting to read it before passing it to Marci. The chain of possession stops with Marci giving it to Why is this ownership history so crucial? It places the manuscript squarely within the historical context of Europe's Renaissance obsession with codes, secrets, and the occult. It tells us that for over a century, brilliant people believed this book held genuine, valuable information. They poured their resources and reputation into trying to decode it. But the history also introduces a key potential culprit, John Dee and his scribe, Edward Kelly. Dee was Rudolph II's court mathematician who was obsessed with summoning angels and recording their divine language. In Okean, Kelly was a notorious English charlatan who often worked with Dee. Some historians speculate that the manuscript may have been acquired by Dee and later sold to Rudolph, or even created by Kelly, as a masterful fraud to extract payment from the wealthy emperor. The paper trail therefore provides a dual narrative. It's either a genuine relic of forgotten wisdom, treasured by high-minded scholars, or it's the ultimate confidence trick, a blank slate of impenetrable script that exploited the era's hunger for secret knowledge. The sheer possibility of a hoax book designed not to be read demands our attention. Section 5. The hoax hypothesis, master forgery or genuine alien language. The failure of countless minds to decode the Voynich Manuscript leads us to a crucial, uncomfortable hypothesis. What if the problem is not in our decoding skill, but in the material itself? What if the Voynich Manuscript is the most successful literary hoax in history? The first piece of evidence supporting a hoax is the very complexity that defeated the codebreakers. If you were a medieval charlatan trying to create a book of genuine-looking secrets, you wouldn't use a simple substitution cipher that could be easily cracked. You would invent a writing system that looked like a functioning language with consistent letter forms and word divisions, but lacked any coherent underlying message. The statistical oddities we discussed, the excessively short words and repetitive internal structures, could be interpreted not as flaws of an ancient language, but as deliberate quirks of a synthetic one, designed to mimic complexity. Consider the potential author, Edward Kelly, the aforementioned scribe. Kelly was known for his flair for the dramatic and his documented history of forgery. To create the manuscript, he wouldn't need to invent a full language. He would need a list of symbols and a set of simple, almost programmatic rules for assembling them into words that look plausible. This is known as the hoax theory. It posits that the author, knowing the desperate hunger of his patrons like Rudolph II for forbidden knowledge, simply created a beautiful, elaborate fraud to extract a massive payment. But the hoax theory, while compelling, has its own significant counter-arguments. The sheer scale of the effort is staggering. Creating over 200 pages of flowing, internally consistent, and hand-illustrated text, all for a single payment, seems excessive. Moreover, carbon dating has confirmed the vellum itself dates to the early 15th century, ruling out a creation by Kelly in the late 16th century. If it is a hoax, it is a much older hoax. This leads to the more unsettling conclusion. If it is not a hoax and not a standard known language, what is it? Some scholars have proposed the manuscript is written in a natural language, but uses an incredibly obscure method of encoding, such as a steganographic system where the message is hidden by spelling out words only on alternating lines, or a micrographic system where the actual message is written in the tiny imperfections of the characters. Others suggest it's a genuine, but now extinct, Asiatic or Caucasian language, written using an invented alphabet. The question remains, why does the book feel so authentic, yet behave so alien? The manuscript forces us to confront the limit of our knowledge. Is it a historical artifact that defies explanation, or a brilliant piece of performance art? A medieval gesture suggesting that the most profound secrets are the ones that remain forever, just out of reach. Section 6. The cold case files, modern algorithms, AI, and the final surrender to mystery. For centuries, the Voynich Manuscript remained locked, guarded by the very code that was meant to convey its secrets. But the 21st century brought new weapons to the fight. Massive computational power and the rise of artificial intelligence. In the last 2 decades, researchers have abandoned the old methods of pencil and cipher wheels. Instead, they've turned to machine learning and natural language processing, the same tools that power modern translation apps to scour the text for patterns too subtle for the human eye to detect. One significant line of inquiry involves looking beyond European languages entirely. Some computational linguists have suggested that the text bears structural similarities to languages with very different word formation rules than English or Latin, specifically languages from the Middle East or Asia, which often use morphological complexity, meaning one long word can contain many pieces of meaning, like prefixes, roots, and suffixes. Using AI to analyze the frequency and position of the symbols, these researchers have proposed possible correlations with Hebrew, Turkish, or even ancient dialects that are nearly extinct. However, even the most sophisticated algorithms have failed to produce a consistent, readable translation. While some AI models have been able to decode short, isolated phrases based on certain assumed rules, applying those same rules to the entire manuscript results in gibberish. This failure is the most damning piece of evidence against a simple solution. If a coherent text is present, AI should find it. This consistent failure has led to a final, profound shift in perspective. Perhaps the book is not meant to be an encyclopedia of knowledge, but a complex memory aid. Some researchers propose that the text is an incredibly intricate form of glossing or shorthand, set of notes for an oral tradition, only readable by the person who created it, or perhaps a master teacher passing down esoteric knowledge. This would explain why the text acts like a language but fails all tests for an independent one. Is it possible that the greatest code of all time is not a message, but a monument to the subjective nature of knowledge? The ultimate frustration of the Voynich Manuscript is that every single potential solution, natural language, cipher, or hoaxes holes big enough to drive a wagon through. It remains the perfect cold case, a closed system of information that refuses to interact with the outside world, leaving us with the haunting possibility that we have reached the limit of what can be known about this book. Section 7. The Legacy of the Unreadable. Why the mystery must endure. The true significance of the Voynich Manuscript is not in its content, which remains invisible, but in its legacy as a mirror reflecting human curiosity and frustration. This bizarre, beautiful volume, filled with its incomprehensible script and unearthly flora, has survived wars, religious purges, and the rise of technology. It has brought together emperors and eccentric scholars, codebreakers and computer scientists, all united by a single, powerful compulsion, the need to break its silence. Its enduring power lies in its ability to resist, proving that even in an age of total information, some secrets remain sacredly guarded. The manuscript challenges our deepest assumptions about language. We assume all writing is intended to communicate. The Voynich Manuscript forces us to consider that perhaps some writing is intended to conceal, or even simply to exist as an aesthetic object of profound mystery. It is a work of art whose medium is secrecy. So, where do we stand today? The prevailing expert consensus swings perpetually between an exquisitely complex cipher of an unknown language and a supremely successful, elaborate 15th century hoax. But in either case, the solution remains out of reach, and perhaps that is its ultimate value. It reminds us that there are still frontiers of human creation that the human intellect has yet to penetrate. The Voynich Manuscript is not just the most mysterious book in the world, it is the ultimate symbol of the unanswered question. It remains a testament to the fact that sometimes the greatest stories are the ones that never resolve. Conclusion. What do you believe the Voynich Manuscript to be? A priceless work of lost knowledge, or the cleverest fake in history? Let us know your theories in the comments below. If this journey into the perpetually unreadable captivated you, please like this video, subscribe for more cinematic explorations of history's deepest mysteries, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thank you for watching.